Welcome to Folding Towels, a podcast for massage therapists with Jackie and David. If you are enjoying our episodes and want to support the production, consider buying us a coffee. Your contributions help us bring you more insightful discussions and expert interviews. Follow the link in the show notes or visit buymeacoffee.com/Folding Towels podcast to contribute, and thank you for your support.
Welcome, everybody, to another lovely episode of the Folding Towels podcast. We are thrilled to have you here today, and David and I are on the Zoom call. Hello, David.
Hello, Jackie.
How are you?
I'm pretty good, living the dream.
Living the dream, yes. Got that work-life balance thing happening, do you?
Yeah, mortgage and all that sort of stuff.
It's balance not toppled over yet.
So if you keep spinning, just keep spinning. Physics will just take care of it for you.
That's it. Yes.
Yep.
Good point.
Yeah.
We actually have a special guest with us today, David, don't we?
Yes, we do.
Very exciting. Everybody say hello to the wonderful Kevin Xiao from Massage Institute. Oh my God, I'm getting it wrong here. Melbourne Institute of Massage Therapy, which is MIMT. Most of you would know it as MIMT. That's what I always call it. Hello,
MIMT.
Kevin. Yes.
Yeah.
G'day guys, it's Kevin here from MIMT. So down south in Melbourne.
Yes.
Lovely cold day, but we love the winter arriving in April. So.
Well, it is still almost summer here in Adelaide. The sky is blue. We are heading towards 28 degrees.
Oh, is it that warm? Okay.
Not today, but by the weekend it will be.
Oh, lovely.
Yes.
That's happiness.
In May.
So if I may, I'm just going to do a little spiel about Kevin, because you've done some fantastic things. So let me just tell everybody some of them, and then we'll ask you some wonderful questions, Kevin. So you actually come from a bit of a family of educators, and education really seems to be in your blood. You've got over 2 decades of experience in education, with dedicating your career to helping students unlock their potential through some very innovative learning approaches and high quality training. Now, we did mention that you are one of the key leaders at the Melbourne Institute of Massage Therapy. You are passionate about setting and maintaining high educational standards, and not only having well-trained and knowledgeable therapists, but also enhancing the reputation of the entire industry. Now, you've also got some other entrepreneurial projects, which is the Breakthrough Group, which is making education accessible and engaging. And you are just so into having, I just cannot believe everything about you screams passionate about education to me. And I'm just so thrilled that you're on the podcast with us today, Kevin. So thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks, Jackie. You're too kind in saying those words. Education is definitely in my blood, and I realize the power of education and how it actually transforms lives. And one of the reasons, if I can give you guys why I think MIMT is so close to my heart, is from a migrant background, if I could put it this way. I see so many migrants coming to Australia, and I grew up here, as you guys can tell from my accent. But and we can do really, really well just in professions like law or accounting, where we use our speech to do the talking for us. But yet, if you're a migrant and you come here in your 20s or 30s, one of the challenges is, how do you compete with the locals here, whether or not it is from a communication perspective or culturally? So the answer is through your hands, through your healing hands of touch, which is what MIMT is really about. If we can encourage not just students locally, but if we can encourage those that have come to Australia, want a new place to settle, but they don't really know about which career path, this is one that can actually set them up very, very well for the long term. But more importantly, they speak through their healing hands, which to me is a very, very powerful symbol, and that's why MIMT is so close to my heart, and what it does and its mission. Hopefully, hopefully can translate that power.
Running an RTO, there's a lot that people have commented on about RTOs and being a free game, and they can teach whatever they want. Let's just shake our head at that misconception. What are some of the challenges of bringing that training into the community?
Now, it's a great question, David, and I want to kind of just tell everyone about this misconception, because how an RTO works is we actually are regulated by this organization called ASQA, and ASQA has training packages and training standards, and these standards and packages are very specific as to what we can and can't teach. So for us to, for example, get someone qualified in Cert 4 in massage therapy, they have to follow a very specific set of training package outcomes, assessments, and teaching. Now, we've got faculty in terms of choice as to how we teach it and who we actually choose to teach. And we've got, for example, one of our best trainers, and I want to just give a bit of a shout out to all of the MIMT staff as well, because without them, we couldn't have trained the tens of thousands of students that we've trained in the last 20, actually over 2 decades. But one of our staff I wanted to draw attention to, for example, works with the Olympic team, and she still uses her training to teach in that Cert 4, in that diploma level. And for me, that's really, really important, in that she's able to take what the standards and the framework has been given, but to do it in a way that is applicable within her area of expertise, which is in elite sport, and hopefully give that nugget of gem and that nugget of knowledge to the students to say that, yes, you are here to do your certificate, but if you apply it this way, these are the potential pathways that you can actually go along. So that's something that a lot of people don't recognize, because they go, look, you've got your own training organization. Can you just whip up a package and teach it? To a big extent, if it's non-accredited, you can, but with the accredited training, so that the qualified therapists can actually get their insurance, get their registration, we do have to follow a very, very set and strict guidelines for it.
Back in 2023, we had a chat with Paula Nutting, and she talked about when she was coming through as a massage therapist trainee, that there were some places that you could get your diploma in 4 days and others where it was 4 years. And the National Training Package really has brought that consistency to things. But through MIMT, I understand that you've introduced a few things which are outside of the package, which goes and builds above and beyond what the standard training is, and giving additional skills to therapists. Do you mind talking to us a little bit about that?
Absolutely. And if I can kind of come back to the training package a little bit, the training package itself and the process requires quite a lot of input from industry. So it's not like, a bureaucrat sitting somewhere saying, we need to have these things, but rather these things have been given, and the feedback and the consultation has been provided by industry, which is why we think this is the level that you need to be at. But there are things that isn't really there, which becomes an addition that MIMT often does. And these things are really, really good, because the training criteria allows you to have a fairly strict foundational knowledge, but there are things that are in addition to it, like, for example, myofascial cupping, which is one that I think is fantastic, or manual lymphatic drainage. These are not required by the training package, but they have become very, very, if I could say, effective techniques that can actually be a bolt-on to the diploma or the myotherapy training that a student receives, and it means that they can actually then go on and create their own little niche in the market, because at the end of the day, everyone who, for example, does myotherapy will have either a diploma or degree, but how do you then stand out from the pack, or how do you service and find your passion in that specialty? And these things that are not included in the training package allows one to do that, which is, I think, a really, really good thing within our system, because it means that again, colleges like MIMT can actually then come forward and say, look, we've got the right trainers who've had a lot of experience in this area. How do we do it in a way that is standardized and can be applied to someone's practice? And we partner with the associations. We let them know about these are things that we're doing, and the associations and also the insurance package that comes on top of that will then allow for that particular student who've gone through that training to then practice that particular modality or skill or technique, which they can then use in their practice. Which I think, from a training perspective, yes, there is a degree of regulation, and that's definitely required. But that flexibility allows us to adapt to what the industry needs are.
That's actually something that I really love about MIMT. I do call it MIMT. I'm sorry if that's
totally fine.
I just love that acronym. But I really, really love this about you guys, because it's not unheard of for new therapists at the moment over the last 2-3+ years to come out from training, finish their qualification, and say, I don't know anything about oncology massage or pregnancy massage or lymphatic massage. And it's just disheartening as anything to hear that, because these are some really, really in-demand therapies. And it's not necessarily that everyone is going to want to do those therapies. That's totally fine if you don't want to. But I don't know, especially with lymphatic drainage, it just feels like there's some really basic knowledge that is missing from the training package. So I am absolutely thrilled that you guys offer some of those things. I think it's great.
And we do those on weekends, which and we understand, because some people, for example, some of our graduates, when they start doing their clinical hours, or when they start practicing themselves, oftentimes they'll be like, well, someone comes in and they say, oh, I heard, for example, oncology is a great example. I hear that oncology is something that my therapist, for example, will do. And then they'll be like, well, it is, but we've only learned a tiny amount. Well, these weekend courses can actually then add that level of depth, which I think is really, really good, because you could do it. It's easy in terms of timing, but more importantly, those skill upskilling and even skill refreshers become quite important, because and we see this not just within the massage industry, we see this within the whole medical profession, where doctors would often use the same technique that they learnt in med school. But if you actually go out and see what they're doing now, it's so far beyond. And at MIMT, one of the great things is, and I got to give a lot of credit to our trainers, a lot of them are always updating and always upskilling themselves so that they can give that best practice to our students. And I'm hoping that that's something that we can obviously continue to do.
We heard back from Rana Moore many episodes ago now. It feels very recent, but it was middle of last year when we chatted to Rana, and she made the comment of the therapist that you are today is not the therapist that you were 10 years ago, even if you think that you are. Whether it's that you've lost some of the nuances or something, or you've added in, and you've had accepted influences from other areas. But I think it is quite an ignorant statement to say that I've been doing the same thing now for 15 years, or maybe you have, and that's a crying shame. Um, but we do evolve as we go on, but we need to be exposed to those opportunities so that we can evolve. Do you have a lot of repeat engagement from students? Say they graduate and then they continue to stay in touch because of this ongoing education?
Absolutely, and it's one of the. I think it's one of the best part about MIMT because it means two things, and if I could describe this from a very realistic perspective, because you've got so many practical massage therapists out there. When you graduate, most of you guys know the industry goes into kind of this solopreneur idea where everyone's practicing by themselves now. And the fact that you guys are actually doing something to collectively weave everyone together is definitely good on you guys. But we see this challenge where you're out there by yourself and you are unfortunately to the patient the single source of knowledge, and there isn't that network of support. So one of the biggest benefit of not just upskilling is you come back, you catch up with your mates, you catch up with your trainer, and then you actually talk about, okay, what are some of the things that you're actually doing? Like one of the things that I found out from one of our trainers is, for example, you get a lot of people who have injuries in their hand these days. It tends to be this professional issue that a lot of people have. Now, if you have a hand injury and you go to the GP, I can pretty much say most GPs would be perplexed as to what kind of treatment they will actually give. And this is actually a really, really interesting niche that's coming out for people who are in remedial massage and myotherapy, where there are specific parts of the body that they can actually treat, or specific conditions. We talked about pregnancy massage and oncology. This is something that I still think is not just in high demand and will continue to be in high demand for a long time. And if, let's say, you're a student who's, and the first time you come out and do your own thing, it'll take you some time. It'll take you 6 to 12 months to realize, okay, this is the area I'm really, really passionate about. And I remember you guys having Mandy, who was an American, who was working in one of the hospitals in Cleveland a couple of episodes back. She talked about the fact that she only worked with children in oncology, and that was her niche that she carved out for herself and her organization. And that's fantastic, because this is what we want to see. And this will be the thing that, in my opinion, will actually lift the standard of everyone, and more importantly, our profession, because our profession it's been around for a very, very long time. I actually want to remind everyone that massage probably has been around longer than medicine has been, but yet it isn't, in my opinion, given the recognition that honestly it should deserve, and also the funding that comes with it. The analogy I used was, the good thing is it is changing, but we need a collective effort as an industry, not just from the practical perspective, but from an educational and also the government engagement and advocacy perspective. Not that long ago, mental health was seen as, pie in the sky idea. And nowadays, mental health has become recognized. It's become a critical factor within the healthcare system, and I guess touch is something that we all kind of, the healing touch of our hands and what the massage therapy therapists do, that itself isn't as well recognized, and that does require research. It requires advocacy, and it requires education. Not just of the politicians out there. If there are anyone who are listening, I could tell you that the industry is doing a fantastic job in terms of healing people, but we're not getting the recognition, and with that the remuneration that comes with the healthcare that many of the therapists provide.
Back when I was at massage school, when we had our student clinic, and I think we had to do 200 hours at that point, and you're encouraged to get started in student clinic as soon as you could. So a lot of my time was just spent doing an hour's massage, back, neck, and shoulders. Next person, an hour's massage, back, neck, and shoulders, and then occasionally someone would come in with something. You go, "Ooh, this is interesting." I understand that MIMT has taken a bit of an initiative in moving towards the establishment of a wellness center and some partnerships outside of the clinical environment.
100%. And I guess the challenge is both. We need to do enough hours. So, for example, a Cert 4 would need at least 80 hours. If you're at diploma level, you need at least 200 hours. And you're right. Sometimes it's you go in head, neck, kind of back idea. But one of the things that we did find, and this is again credit to our trainers and our staff, they've been able to carve up very, very interesting roles for themselves. Like, for example, we talked about Lily before. She was working with the Olympic team. We've also got Matt, who's working with footy clubs, and you actually seen a lot more of the myotherapist coming into professional sports. So one of the things that we actually decided to do was the establishment of a wellness centre in the inner city of Melbourne, specifically in the suburb of South Yarra, which is very, very close to the MCG, to the Australian Open. One, for ease of access to for the athletes, but more importantly, it means that it gives our students a bit of an insight as to what are the specialties that you can actually head in. And obviously this one is more focused on sport, but the wellness center will be established like an actual. It will be bespoke in terms of its fit out. It will be like an actual clinic, and what that means is when clients come in, they will expect you to do the onboarding, the induction, as if you're in that environment. And I think that's really, really important because as a student, as soon as you graduate, there is a dread and a feeling that I'm going to be on my own. But if you're exposed to that early, and if you're exposed to that repeatedly throughout your training, then by the time you actually go off and do your own thing, which, by the way, if I could give you guys a bit of a plug, I love the way that you guys actually focus on the business side. That is so important. Like,
Thank you.
If you cannot run a successful business, it does not matter how good your massage technique is. And unfortunately, the analogy here is you can make the best burger, but if a McDonald's opens next to you, you will need to find a way to survive. And unfortunately, that is what it is. Like, we are in a environment where market forces do drive demand and supply, and students need to understand that you're not just competing against other massage and myotherapists, but you're also competing against other health fields. Like, if I'm in pain, I can go and see the doctor, which most likely I'll do, but I can also go and find alternative treatments. But oftentimes I've only got $100, and that means I can only choose X, Y, or Z. So knowing that we operate within that environment is so important. And
that's such a great thing to actually even say, because I think a lot of massage therapists kind of sometimes forget that, especially if they're new therapists. They might not realize you're competing against chiropractors, osteopaths, acupuncturists, naturopaths, and that's just a few of the ones off the top of my head. Like, there's so many other therapies out there, and you could be the best massage therapist this side of anywhere, and it might not matter if you can't get your name out there.
Yes.
One of the other things that David asked before about, so we've got this wellness center, but we also do these collaborations with, for example, the Royal Children's Hospital. We've got the Olivia Newton-John Foundation, the Cancer Centre just literally across the road from us. We basically are the sole providers of the Melbourne Marathon. And the reason why we're doing that is for two parts. One is for our students to realize, okay, you don't need to just do a clinical setting set up for your career. I remember one of your podcasts, you talked about doing corporate massages, and you could actually make that your sole business focus. And I actually think getting that exposure to and giving that exposure to the students early allows them to kind of go, you know what, there are certain things I'm never going to do. And that's fine. There is nothing wrong with it. But if you're going to come out and actually be sustainable, because, I mean, we all know this. I think the average lifespan of a massage therapist these days is, 5 to 7 years, right? And the challenge I see is so many people kind of don't make it to that place, or they make it there and that it's not sustainable. Like they've, you know, so there are definitely specializations that you need to consider and niches that you need to consider. And it's not that the earlier you consider them, the better. But it's like when I first came to Australia, I saw this new fruit, which is, you know, never seen a strawberry before because we didn't have those back in China. And people were like, oh, describing to me what a strawberry tastes like. And I was like, yeah, how would you describe
That's
it?
hard.
That is hard. That is, and, you know, it changes. Its flavor changes throughout its career, right? So it's the same thing, which I hope that our students can actually get the exposure early, you know, and then go, well, this is an area that I actually want to pursue. Fantastic. Then how do you actually create that little space for yourself to grow in and hopefully do well. So the business aspect, and I keep saying that, and I love the fact that you guys actually focus on this periodically, which it's funny because you see a lot of podcasts, especially around massage, focus on the technique, which I can understand is so important. But if you've got no one through the door, it doesn't matter. So at the end of the day, it's a good balance of the two.
Thank you.
So I was reading. Was I reading? What was I listening to? Oh, it was painscience.org. The writer there, the pain writer there, was talking about how, as therapists, we need to stop talking to people about our techniques because it's not the technique that is making a difference. And we come back into human touch. Now, this is a science writer talking about how the way massage works probably isn't what we expect. It's why we have thousands of different techniques, and all of them may or may not work. But the person who experiences a benefit has experienced a relationship with you. I thought that's very interesting coming out of a science writer.
I don't know if you guys mentioned this on the podcast, but always my parents, my folks, and the people around me, my mentors have always challenged me in terms of don't think about education as a job or a career, but think about it as a vocation, something that you're passionately, it becomes not even an all passionate consuming idea, but that's what then can drive you to go down those rabbit holes and find your niche. And once you find that, the world opens up to you and you can do so much good. Now, one of my, again, and I come back to this, which is I really do want to see a greater uplift in our profession, because I still, in the heart of hearts, know that we do so much and we don't get recognized enough for what we do. People just think, you know, massage is massage. I can get that today, you know, down the road, and it's not. There is an element of treatment that's actually involved, and that it's not just that touch, but the science behind it. But you're right, David, in that the patients don't see it as the technique. They're like, do what you just did. That's usually what they tell us, rather than, you know, go down this way in an anti-clockwise.
Yes, and do it 8 times.
Yeah, that's right. Exactly. So, but the thing is, when they feel the benefits, it's not just a feeling. it actually changes and recalibrates their whole entire experience. And that's what we're involved in. Unfortunately, it's difficult because it is just like where mental health was 50 or 60 years ago. The research around it just hasn't been A, sufficient, and B, hasn't been as widespread. So I'm hoping that, and one of the things that we're focused on at MIMT is to actually bring forth some of not just the technology, but also to standardize and to create that collaborative environment where we can actually then talk to universities about, okay, we've got all these students. We've got all these students, past students who are willing and want to see the profession get better. Is there a way we can set up clinical trials, experiments where, we can standardize certain things and then come out with a hypothesis and hopefully present evidence to show that what we're doing is statistically significant to the patient.
Mm.
Well, can I ask then, Kevin, I'm not sure if you have any statistics for us at all. We do love a nice statistic here. But have you seen perhaps more students coming through over the last 5 to 10 years wanting to actually do the advanced diploma rather than just the diploma of remedial massage?
We have, like for us, we're very well known for our advanced diploma course.
Yeah.
In fact, we've got some of our trainers who, for example, teach anatomy in a way that really, really does challenge not just their academic standards, but the degree at which you need to understand anatomy, the functions, the muscles, and pretty much all the key organs that go around it. And we find that, especially with advanced Myo, if the student is not just willing to put in the hard yards, they'll come out to be a much better therapist. And that's something that we know works. It's a difficult one because oftentimes once you get to your diploma qualification, it allows you to pretty much unlock most doors within that massage therapy world. Yep. But that advanced Myo, and I do understand that, again, a lot of the associations are trying to differentiate between myotherapy and massage therapy, and I can understand that definition, but to a big extent, we do find that, especially for those who want that extra differentiation and that really looking to move into that clinical setting, myotherapy is a really, really good course to A, do, and B, be exposed into a lot more of these advanced techniques that they get exposure to.
I think back when I started my massage journey, which was about 14 years ago initially, there was only a very, very small handful of myotherapists in Adelaide, and I know that number has grown reasonably. I want to say significantly, but maybe it's only reasonably. But it's a little hard. I know this is sort of veering slightly off topic, but it's a little hard because the general public often just doesn't even understand massage therapy, let alone what the difference is between remedial massage and myotherapy. It's very tricky.
And that's something that, and put it this way, like if there is greater recognition, it's this kind of, you could say the chicken and the egg example, but if we can have a positive feedback loop, which, again, it's great to see you guys doing this because you will have people who are part of the general public listening to your podcast and saying, oh, I didn't realize this whole world existed. In fact, for the general public, the world of massage is this one word, right?
Yeah.
And the you is actually this one word. They go, oh, how is there any difference if I go down to a spa versus a clinic? And for them, if you said that to a myotherapist, of course they will go on for 5 hours telling you exactly what it is. But
as they should.
As they should.
We want them to.
100%. But we as a profession also we also need to kind of go, you know what, let's get that one kind of sentence tagline right, if I could kind of, put it on that, where we kind of come out and say, look, this is actually what massage does. And that's something that is difficult because it requires coordination from not just the professionals and the people in the profession, but the associations. RTOs will play a small role in that, but we can definitely educate. But to a big extent, educating the general public is going to be huge in terms of changing the policy landscape. Like, it's only when people vote, and we've got a federal election coming up, so it's only when people go, oh, you know what, this is actually important to me because my child who was suffering from cancer got this treatment from a myotherapist. Then they go and lobby their local member and say, hey, look, did you know this profession existed? Because, mind you, if the general public don't know, I'm fairly certain members within our representative parliament wouldn't either. And if that doesn't happen, it doesn't matter how many doors we try to break down, those things. Oftentimes, public opinion, we don't give enough credit for public opinion, but it is a very, very strong force. And we as a profession need to go out and actually think about, okay, how can we potentially sway that public opinion for the benefit of massage and myotherapy.
Absolutely. So when you, young listener, are going to be hearing our voices, because we do record ahead of time, the election will be hopefully last weekend as you're listening to this. And Myotherapy Week is next week, starting on the 13th of May. I had to think what month we were in then. Tell us what you guys over at MIMT are doing for Myotherapy Week, because you love Myotherapy Week. And if anyone listening has not been on Instagram and followed MIMT on Instagram, you absolutely should give them a follow and check out their socials, because they are very active on social media and do talk about all of this stuff and have been promoting Myotherapy Week. So please, Kevin, tell us, what are you guys doing?
Well, we've actually, for all the listeners that can't see, we've actually got a board behind us which actually tells us that we've got, for us, it's really three prongs that we really wanted our students to, and even the general public to experience. So number one is we've got a lot of our past students coming in and speaking to our current students about myotherapy. In fact, one of our graduates, she was recently, last year actually, voted Myotherapist of the Year. And funnily enough, she has a advanced diploma qualification, not a degree qualification, which I thought was really, really interesting, in that she actually was so good at what she does. And again, all credit goes to the trainers, but it means that she was able to apply that and be recognized by the industry and in the industry body for her work. So that's one of our first things, which is to actually tell people, yes, it is fantastic for you to get your diploma qualification. When you are ready, this is the next step that you can actually take in your career, should you want to pursue this more. So that's the first part. The second part, I think, is we really want to reach out to the general public as well. So during our student clinic that week, we were actually offering a discount for our myotherapy sessions and actually telling everyone about, okay, this is what myotherapists do. And that's really, really important, because most people who come to our clinic, unless they're repeats, they just go, okay, I just want a massage. Well, would you like to get one from a myotherapist who can actually really focus on targeted trouble areas that you're experiencing? And to me, that's really, really important, having that exposure. And then the third part is really about how do you continuously improve? And I call it CANI, constant and never-ending improvement, because once you're at your profession, and once everyone can get qualified. I mean, oftentimes we again, if I can come back to the medical analogy, when you go and see a surgeon, you go, well, okay, I want to see the best one. not I want to see the qualified one. No one asked that. So it's really about how do we then allow our students to then go, well, I really want to specialize in this area, or I really want to get extra training and extra exposure in that. And that's really something that we really encourage even those who are qualified as myotherapists to actually explore some of the weekend classes that are on offer. And that those three things are what we're doing for Myotherapy Week. Yeah.
I like to feel reasonably safe in my career that I probably won't be replaced by a computer or a robot. Um, do you see a role for emerging technologies which might influence the future of hands-on education and hands-on healing?
The short answer to that is unfortunately AI and technology, some of the stuff that I'm developing in terms of taking through my other education initiatives, they're very, very powerful. I think the good thing is, as a massage therapist, we're going to be quite well insulated. But I guess the flip side of that is you're going to see a lot of, for example, doctors or certain niches within the medical profession become more replaced. And the challenge of that is if you've got, let's say, let's say if it's in surgery, and these days you've got surgeons that are able to operate remotely, and they're operating very complicated, sophisticated surgeries by a robot remotely. Would that be something that, again, can replace what we have? I think there is an element of that. The good thing is, unless the technique and the technology gets to that, your ability to sense and to touch, that's something that I don't think machines will replace for some time, which is fantastic about our industry. If you can actually do it right, the potential for not just a sustainable career is actually quite long. Having said that, one of the things that we do see is a lot of the practitioners don't take care of themselves. And if I can give that a bit of a plug as well, which is, if you are listening out there, and if you're, advocating for massage, and if you're not getting one yourself every 2 or 3 weeks to get yourself in that right balance, in that right space, that is something that you do. But on David's point, where we can use technology well is we can string together a lot of the fragmented elements of our industry. I think that's something that technology can definitely do, and to help kind of create that one voice that we can present to bureaucrats or politicians about what our industry is.
I think it's probably about every third or fourth episode that David and I do get the old mum voice out and say, look, kids, you need to look after yourselves as well. Like, it doesn't have to be massage as well, because a lot of us as therapists can be very sensitive to different forms of touch and who we want to see. It could be acupuncture. It could be seeing your naturopath. It could be bone therapy. There's so many different wonderful therapies out there.
It could be taking a day off.
Yes. Going and sitting by the beach. So consider this a very, very integral part of your homework, everybody. And I know you're all listening.
So for someone who is starting their massage therapy studies today, what mindset or habits would you recommend they develop early?
I think if I was to, wouldn't say in order, but if I was to give 3 very important advice for aspiring massage therapists, the first thing I would do is experience different environments. And what I mean by that is different work environments. Don't just be like, okay, I'm going to be the run-of-the-mill massage therapist that does X, Y, Z. Experience whether or not it is within a hospital setting. Like, for example, one of the best partnerships we have is with the Royal Children's Hospital, and where we go in and actually massage the staff. And when we do that, we actually tell the students, yes, you are giving a treatment, but also talk to the staff members about what they do. because they'll be like, oh, wow, this is needed. And they'll be like, well, maybe you should come in and do XYZ for our ward or our specialty. And that's something that's really, really important. So the hospital setting would be one that I would highly encourage people to do. The second one is definitely especially within sport, and that area where, we Aussies, we love sport. And Melbourne, unfortunately, we have holidays for sport. I think that's at another level. We want to have one day. We've got like multiple days, when not for the AFL or for horse race. It's something that, yes, is in our blood, and we're all mad about it. But with that also becomes a huge advantage if you're in Melbourne, to be exposed, because one of the things that we're going to be doing, which I'm so pleased about seeing, is, for example, when the Oz Open happens, we're going to have players coming into our wellness centre to do treatment. Now, what does that mean for our students? It means, A, yes, there is something on your CV that you can talk about, but B, you can also understand, okay, these are how elite sports men and women need, in terms of not just treatment, but this is what they're looking for. This is the language that they're looking for. This is the world they live in. And we often hear massage and physiotherapists, even doctors, traveling with professional sports people. And that's something that could actually be, if you love travel and if you love sport, this is a great marriage of the two. So that's another area. And then the third area I think is really, really important is carving out consider these little niches like oncology, like pregnancy, that I unfortunately for oncology, it is something that is devastating for the patient, but it is going to be something that's always going to be there. And when that's pregnancy, oncology, those that I just mentioned, but even massage for the elderly or massage for children that have particular disabilities, so the adolescents. So there's all these phases that everyone goes through, and if you can establish yourself within that industry with that brand, chances are when people go on Google and search up this is what they need, they're going to find you. And having that mindset of where am I going to be, it is key. And then if I can add on, but I think I've already done this enough, do think about it as a business as well, because and it's difficult, because at the end of the day you do need to pay your bills, you do need to pay your insurance, you need to look after yourself, and that's not easy, because if those things don't get taken care of, it can actually be really, really quite stressful when you're working by yourself. And then finally, I think the mental health and the self-checking element is really, really important, because oftentimes it's easy when you're in a school because you've got mates around. It's not easy when you're by yourself. And I actually encourage students to consider, don't just start your own practice. Maybe join a practice, or join a practice with other health professionals, whether or not it's allied health, whether or not it's general practice, because that way you can learn how systems work, but more importantly, you can then go, well, this clinic, for example, is really, really good in doing podiatry, for example. Well, that's maybe an area that I'm interested in. Okay, fantastic. Do your research, go down that path, and see how you can then support the others in carving out your own niche.
I was actually thinking about it only the other day, Kevin, about what you just mentioned. In that school environment, you're nurtured, you're perhaps getting a little bit of massage every day as you're learning the techniques, and everyone around you, it just wants to look after you and pass on information, and you just feel it's such a great environment. And then you finish school and you're just thrust out into the world, and you might not get another massage, maybe if you're not prepared for that, for another 6 months, because funds might be tight and whatever. So that's such a really important point to make, that if you're a new therapist, it's so important to look after yourself and to, maybe catch up with those school friends and practice those techniques, and actually, even if it's only for 30 minutes, do a little bit of a shoulder massage or a back massage, just to keep your body, supple and not end up in agony, or with, hand issues were mentioned earlier. So it's so easy as a new therapist to hurt your hands and hurt your shoulders and whatnot. And yeah, so another really good tip for new therapists. Yeah.
When you think about the future of massage and biotherapy education, I think you've said already that the first word that comes to mind is responsibility. Can you unpack how you think about that for us?
It's a very, very good point. I think the challenge when it comes to responsibility, the massage industry is actually, and I think you guys had Anne on, I think just in the last episode, there are actually areas where there is really, really high risk. And what we want to do is to make sure that when you come to massage school, we want to make sure that not just you as a practitioner is protected, but more importantly, you understand what kind of protection is out there for you and how to protect yourself. And I think responsibility is definitely first to yourself. A lot of people think my first responsibility should be my patient, and I actually think that's not the case. If you're responsible for yourself in terms of making sure that you're in the right frame of mind to work, you've got physically you're well looked after, you're going to give a much better service. But more importantly, from a professional and oftentimes a risk perspective, thing that we don't think about is making sure you take good notes. Like these are small things, making sure you don't cut corners in terms of, your patient comes in, they want a massage, I know, but spend that 30 seconds, a minute to understand where they're coming from, and spend that extra minute to just jot it down, because those things you don't know. And I always tell students that looking after yourself is actually the first part, and that's actually one of your core responsibilities. Your patients as well. I think a big part of it is communication and understanding, because you can do two things at once. You can talk to them and look after them from your technique and your skills perspective, but also talk to them about, okay, how did this injury come about? Doing that diagnosis, doing that follow-up. Last time I did this technique, did you like that? Did you see a difference when you left here? Or how does this pressure translate into this issue that you have? And being able to not just communicate, but to understand the holistic care element is important, because I've seen this time and time again, where if you're able to create, it's how, and again, and this is why I think it's so important that we become a lot more, not so much professional, but we plug into the healthcare system. I'll explain that. So one of our myotherapist has actually done really, really well in that she's actually partnered up with GPs and physios in terms of, okay, if this thing comes up that you see in your practice, please refer them to me. And in turn, I will see what the other elements, and I'll refer back to you and within that network. And that's something really, really important that people don't plug into enough. I think everyone has this expectation that, you go in and you try to heal everything. And it may not be the case. It may be this is your area of expertise, but then you allow others in their field of expertise to do their magic. And hopefully that cycle comes around. And if you can build your network for that, that's what gives you your ability to sustain not just your practice, but what and grow what you're good at. So those two are, I guess, the core. And I keep bashing on about this because I'm so passionate. The third one, I think, is as an industry, there's a quote which is, that the tide would lift all boats. And it's a Chinese saying. And the reason why I say that is we as a profession need to look out for each other. Yes, to a big extent, we are working in silos, but I guess these days with technology, we have the ability to help each other, to share knowledge, to make sure that we keep not just ourselves accountable, but those who regulate us accountable. I think that's something that it isn't said enough. We're not, that's the associations, we're not, it's actually politicians and the acts that we operate under. We want to make sure that we lift the standard of our profession. And I think that's really, really important, because one wrong move oftentimes ends up in the media with a tiny soundbite which impacts everyone. And those things put us so far back. And I don't, they will happen. And oftentimes when they do, we need to be accountable for that as well. So making sure that there are processes in place, but also talk about these things. And the fact that Anne came up last couple of weeks and she talked about the whole, that there's elements of especially assault in our industry, and especially happens to women, which really does frustrate me. But because you talk to the male therapist and they often go, well, what do you say? Well, those things happen. We need to bring those out into the open, and be mindful of our responsibility there as well.
Despite some of those negativities that we have talked about them quite a lot on recent episodes, I've mentioned this as well, so I'm sorry for those of you that listen to every episode. I'm repeating myself, but I do feel like we are in a really great time as an industry. I feel like we are just so ready to really, as you said, that rising tide is lifting every single boat, like all of us working together. We're absolutely not a homogenous group. We all have different ways that we work and ideas and practices and what have you. But I think we're all just ready to just go, you know what, I'm an amazing therapist and I want my industry to really succeed. And I can see that with people that have responded to the podcast. We've had so much positive feedback that massage therapists want to hear this positive information. They are crying out for this knowledge and how to bring it, give this information to their clients and whatnot. And David and I have talked about this many times, but I just feel like it's such a wonderful time to be in the industry.
Absolutely. And if I can echo that as well, Jackie, in terms of we do need to give ourselves a bit more credit. I think oftentimes, if you think about a lot of the students who come to this profession, we tend to be a lot more introverted. We tend to be a lot more reserved. We want to show people through our technique. But unfortunately, sometimes it isn't the quietest, most smoothest wheel that gets the attention. It's the one that is the squeakiest, or goes out there and tells everyone about it, and we need to do that a bit more. But the fact that you guys are, which is it's fantastic.
A lot of massage therapists are a little bit quirky, which I really, really like. and that quirky therapists will attract their tribe of people who appreciate the way that they're quirking. And a little humble brag, I was at an event some years ago, and the Premier of South Australia was there, and he came across and we're having a chat, and he goes, I went for a massage just recently. This therapist had a lot of garden gnomes out the front of their place, like a lot of garden gnomes. I had to tell my partner, if I don't come out, I may be dead.
Been turned into a garden gnome.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
And we do set up our spaces the way that we like and the way that we feel comfortable. And those that work in clinical environments, they may even be transforming those spaces from less hospital-like and sterile into quite beautiful places. Or they may be just a little bit weird.
Nothing wrong with weird, David.
No, there's not.
So this is a really, really important massage-related question, Kevin. And what is this? It's super important. What's your favorite superhero and why?
I know this is one question you guys love to ask, and the one that actually comes to mind is actually Batman. And the reason why I say Batman is Batman actually has no superpowers.
Mm.
It's the only superhero without a superpower. And the reason why I say that is I guess it's fantastic to have a superpower, but he realized without a superpower he can still make a huge difference. And it's really what is representative of our practitioners. Don't forget that your superpower is within your hands, and those things can make and is making a real difference. So don't forget that, because we all love to be Spider-Man, we all love to be Superman, but Batman actually takes the winner for me.
I think we need to get onto Rock Tools. They've got some interesting shaped myofascial tools, and have one done in the shape of the bat symbol.
Yes.
100%.
I would buy that.
I would too. Batman, yeah. Especially all the cartoons when I was young, watching that, especially before school, I was like, wow, this guy. I mean, he does have an advantage. He's got a ton of money. I guess that's his superpower. Which, but taking that aside, fantastic in terms of what he's able to do, and I hope all our therapists out there, or our graduates out there, or our students out there take that attitude in what they do.
He's using his skills for and money for good, not evil, which is not always the case. So it's good. I love it.
And nor is he waiting for the wheels of bureaucracy to turn.
And the fact that we do have so many quirky therapists, and quirkies may not be the best word, but they are unique in their own ways, and they're little Batmans. We just need to dress them up properly.
Yeah.
Yes.
March down Flinders Street here. Yeah, fantastic.
I will now turn up to work in a rubberized suit.
That could be sending the wrong message, David. Sorry.
Especially on a hot day. What do you feel is a simple daily habit that you feel makes a big difference to success, whether it's from that student aspect or those who have gone a bit beyond and maybe in that space of business ownership?
Yeah, no, that's a great point. Even I think everyone has habits, and habits can be both destructive and empowering. And I think one of the things that we don't do enough, I certainly don't, so I'm guilty of this too, but I do see to be fantastic is being present and being grateful. I think those two things oftentimes, like when you're a massage therapist, if you're, let's say, running your clinic, I think everyone has, okay, in my mind, I've got to think about who's coming up next and who's what the issues are. Okay, the plumber called me this morning. So your head is everywhere. And I think that's something that if you can master well, if you can be present with your patient, present with yourself in terms of, this is what I'm doing. I'm offering a service that for some people is potentially their only form of maybe even human touch within that week. Like you don't know how powerful that is. And oftentimes I remind students that it's a great privilege, because people are paying for your livelihood for you to give them that treatment. So there is that element of being present, which is difficult because these days our attention is drawn a million different ways, and oftentimes a decision that is made thousands of miles away will actually impact how your business is actually run here. And that's something that we can't control. We can't control external environment, but what we can absolutely control is our internal environment. And sometimes I know this is something I do often, which is before something happens to you, remember you've got the choice, right? If someone comes up and hits you for no reason, you can choose how to actually react. And those choices, and I'm using this as a bit of an analogy, but those choices are actually yours to take. If you do feel like a patient is coming and is unreasonable, you have the choice. You have the choice to stop the session there and then. And that's something that we often don't talk about, because we think that, okay, they've paid the money, they should then do X, Y, Z. Well, no, you've actually got the choice to then say, you know what, I'm not feeling comfortable. And what that means is, coming back to what you were saying, David, before, being responsible for yourself. Because at the end of the day, if you're going to do this for, Jackie, you've done it for 14 years now, which is fantastic. But if you're going to survive and do the thing that you're passionate about for decades, you have to, look after yourself, be responsible to yourself first. And once you do that, you go to work happy every day. And it doesn't matter. Oftentimes, yes, you do need to pay the bills. And yes, if you can run a successful practice, that definitely helps. But if you go to work every day and your work is to heal people, versus like my mates, they go to work and what do? They make money for their bosses. I mean, if I was to then sit back when I'm 80 years old and say, who's actually had a bigger impact? And those perspectives we don't do enough of.
That's such a great thing to remember. Before you ask another question, David, I want to just give a little hello to Niv, who runs your social media, who I chat with quite a lot on Instagram, particularly last year. We were chatting a lot last year. And she told me, and I'm assuming that this is true, but she told me that our podcast is actually recommended to your students all the time, and kind of implied that you all listen to our podcast like every week, like every episode. So I just really wanted to say hi, Niv, because we haven't met in person.
That's really lovely.
Yeah, she's absolutely wonderful chatting on Instagram.
So and I'm hoping those who are listening, if you guys have your story, please don't be afraid to reach out to David and Jackie and say, look, this is my story from my little part of the world that I'm doing. And because as a profession, we need to support each other and actually see this move on and grow as well.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone at MIMT, for listening. We love you guys. We'll always call it MIMT.
Do that. Because the MIMT is often a very, very big mouthful as well, and then we have to explain exactly what, okay, with the Melbourne Institute of Massage and Myotherapy, but no, it's because the business, honestly, the RTO has been around for 2 decades, and all credit to the trainers. We've actually got trainers who have been here from day one. So to give you guys an idea of how not just dedicated these guys are, but passionate about what they do. And not only, like, for example, you mentioned Niv, she teaches, but she also is a practitioner. And for her, being a practitioner and teaching means that you're in both ends of the scale, and then you can actually bring in techniques to teach our students, and you can give them market information. But by the way, I'm seeing an uptick in XYZ type of demand. And that's so critical, because as a student, you're going out there and you're going, what am I going to do? Once I finish this, what am I going to do? Now, the good thing is we do have a very strong alumni network, but at the end of the day, that network requires the individual and the graduate to also plug into it. And sometimes they don't. So, having a podcast here means that you guys can reach far more people. And that's fantastic, because it means, again, you look after yourself, you're being responsible, but you're not alone. And that's something that we need to tell, not just our students, but all the practitioners out there that you're not alone. If you guys need help, there are associations, there are people that you can definitely reach out to. And if we can't be the answer, I'm certain we can find someone who can help you get the right answer as well.
Absolutely.
Kevin, I'd like to invite you to give a bit of a plug for the MIMT Soft Tissue Congress.
100%. No, thanks for that. We've got where it's a bit of a pet project for everyone here at MIMT. So every year we run a congress where we invite guest speakers from across the industry to come in and actually share not just teaching techniques and what the latest thinking and the research is around massage, but also it's a great way for practitioners to come in and actually network. So it's a day-long event. This year, I believe, it is on a Sunday. The Sunday, the last weekend in October. So that, I believe, is Sunday, the 26th of October. And I dare say I'm going to give you guys a challenge on air. If you guys are keen, I would love to absolutely invite you guys down to give a live podcast whilst the Congress is actually happening, because it's not just a way for the community and our families to come together, but it's really a way that gets everyone excited, and that's something that is not easy. We tend to do it at the end of the year to make sure that we also talk about some of the successes throughout the year and what are some of the challenges as people head into kind of that new year phase. But it's a long-standing tradition at MIMT, and I believe we are the only college that is actually doing it. It does at times want to pull our hair out, but we know that for the community and for our graduates, for our network, it is such an important event because it means that people can see and be trained, but certain people also get recognition within that space as well. So it's fantastic. So
you've had a wonderful selection of guests in previous years, and I intend to take up the challenge and get my butt across to Melbourne for the Soft Tissue Congress this year, because people like Lily Chu and Rob Granter, and there's many others have presented at the conference in the past, and they just have a wealth of knowledge that they are sharing. If you're needing your CPE points for the year, a full day of training is 7.5, 8 points. Very easy to pick up half of what you need for the year. And it is usually at a very reasonable price.
This has been absolutely an amazing episode. Thank you so much, Kevin, for joining us. Your passion for the industry is just vibrant. Even we are recording some video with this, which we discard because we don't need it, but but it's just been wonderful to actually connect with you and see you sort of in person over Zoom and hear all of your wonderful stories and see that passion, that vibrancy for this industry that you have. Thank you so much for chatting with us. We are thrilled to have had you on today.
Thanks, Jackie and David, and continue the good work and the good fight, which I don't think it's said enough, but we really do appreciate, and we tell our students that if this is an area that you're interested in, please do, because it's not an easy fight for us, and I see it as a fight because we do want to get more recognition.
Well, if you have enjoyed today's conversation, please give us a thumbs up, a like, a subscribe on your favorite listening app. If you have an episode idea that you desperately want us to talk about, maybe it includes talking about it with you, reach out to us through the website, foldingtailspodcast.com.au, through Facebook, through Instagram, any of the social media platforms that we are on. We do get back to people. We love hearing from you. And don't let there be any thought that your story isn't valuable. because we have got some fantastic guests lined up who it is just that, is their story, their journey in absentia of technique, in absentia of the clinical side of things. It's where they have come from, where they are going, and how they've overcome some of their challenges, which is just real life stuff that we all go through. Thank you for joining us today, Kevin. Thank you for MIMT for your support.
Thanks, guys. Really appreciate it.
See you next time, everybody.
We'll see you in the next one.